don't worry about the chat anymore. Welcome to the Friendlyjordies podcast. How are we feeling, gentlemen? Miss Love?
Tired.
Jordan also tired?
Yeah, Poop Steve 420'd.
Seriously,
Poopty scoop.
Well, if you're tired,
I really am. I don't know what it is. I think you know what it is as well. It's also that we've just been focusing a lot on COVID, and I think I figured something out, Ali. I'm really bored by what everyone else is talking about. I think that the second worst piece of conversation after how's the weather is water cooler chat.
Mm.
But then again, I do this podcast every week, so
yeah.
I just, yeah.
Hey, Miss Love, at least show your face.
Sorry. I think that it's just been a lot of reality for me, and I'm not one that usually exists on that plane. I usually spend about 10% of my life in reality, and now it's a lot more. So it's kind of like, it's a bummer, man. You know.
What do you miss the most?
What do you mean?
This new reality of cabin fever. What are you missing the most?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, it's not that I don't like it. I liked it. It's not that I don't like it. I can't figure it out. I think.
No, I know what it is. You just absorb yourself in environments, and you have been absorbing yourself in some Taliban-y cave, it seems, for the last month. So it's not the best, to use a word you are very familiar with, Miss Vibe.
Yeah, I'm just getting a bit pedantic. I'm caring way too much about my plants. I'm turning into the Rain Man. Like, I'm like, I gotta water the plant. You just gotta water the plant. And like, I don't know, like just routines. I've got a lot based around plants. Like, gotta put the plant near the window because you just gotta get sun. And it's like,
did you care about plants before?
Yeah, I always had them, but now I'm just kind of like, they're my best friends. Oh, look, a new shoot's coming up. Oh, that means everything's going well. La, 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 la.
Look, yes, but also you are just saying that the downsides of you being in lockdown is that you are now a responsible plant owner.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Something you should have been doing all along.
Yeah, my plant responsibilities, though previous were subpar, now that they are up to standard, I am quite depressed about that fact.
It is a sad place to be in life. You're right. I think there's two things. There's two things that really indicate depression in life: is how well you are looking after your plants, and secondly, Ali's face.
Hey, here's another thing I learned recently.
What?
Apparently, people that take long showers are much more likely to be depressed.
Well, Ali, you and me are screwed.
Why?
Yeah, holy hell, maybe Ali just was born depressed and doesn't know it.
Yeah, that's what probably. Yeah, I think he's right.
He has Ali has longer showers than you, miss. And I think you are in the Guinness Book of Records. You should try and beat him, Ali.
Oh my God, the 2021 world's greatest shower off.
How long do you take your showers for? I remember I used to live in this house.
I know you got in trouble, right?
Oh, all the fucking time. Because the guy was very anal about using a lot of water. And,
look, shout out to my housemates. They've never.
When you're saying, oh, you're so anal about it, how long were you in the shower? 40 minutes? It's
more than 5.
Stand on, huh?
A day.
I would take showers for 10 to 15 minutes.
That's such a lie. That's so, you have such a bad, this is the classic cognitive bias that everybody has, really underestimating what they do in life. I swear your showers, look, how long Miss Love goes in the shower angers me, not because of a waste of water in terms of you're wasting the hot water, just because of the environmental waste of just sitting there with your mouth open, Ali put him to shame. You really need to understand this, boys. If I was if I was living in a perfect world, this is what I'd do.
Mm.
I'd strip you boys down. I'd lather you with soap, and then I'd get a garden hose like a dog and spray you and be like, "You're done. Go."
I wouldn't have any direct protest about that. There's something attractive to that utilitarian thing. You know what? I've been in those
Because
situations.
you don't have to move, miss. That's why you find it attractive. You're like, someone else is soaping me up and hosing me down.
True.
Where's the problem?
That's my dream. Actually, you know what? I think that I do need some like. I'm starting to think that like prison would be good for me. You know, maybe we should switch, Jordan. I'll get sued.
That's the last place you'd want to go.
No, I know, but maybe like some sort of like that Simpsons prison where like Mr. Burns or whatever is just like, come on, no, we're sorry, Sideshow Bob's like, come on, Terwilliger, we need a fourth thing for the rower thing, whatever the fuck it is.
Right. So you want to go to a rich man's jail?
Yeah.
That one that Pablo Escobar was in. Is that to your likings? Is it this stuff where he just paid off the judge and got to stay in his mansion?
No, that's to my liking. The one that you said.
That one, okay. I think that could be arranged. As we all know, that's the point of being in jail, to have an upgrade in your life, clearly. Like, look at this again, the wall, it's freaking me out still.
Understandably.
But I do honestly think that. I think that if Ali was in jail, it would be the most productive years of his life. He wouldn't notice, first off. Apart from the occasional toilet getting broken on the back of his head. But other than that,
I'm more afraid of the soap bar dropping.
Yeah, we all are.
That would be so nice as well, because I think they do that in prison, don't they? Or maybe that's a 20s thing, where they do just lather you down and then spray you with a hose.
No, I don't think do that anymore.
Lather you down. Well, I'm trying to think. Like there are when Ali, I don't know if you had this in Pakistan, but like I'm sure you did. I don't think this is an Australian thing, but like Jordan, there were times growing up, right, where, you know, it was like, I'm thinking maybe like camping, some obscure holiday where there's like, you're out in the bush, like no hot water situations, some summer situations where, when your house is like being renovated and it's like, soap up, we're hosing you down in the backyard. I don't hate those memories.
Me neither.
Right?
I think one of my favorite memories of all time was with Luke from our high school. We went to one of his holiday houses. Sorry, it wasn't that rich. His holiday house.
Yeah.
And he had an outdoor shower that was inexplicably hot. And we're all sitting there giggling, putting out our board shorts.
Yeah.
Putting the hot water straight onto our nuts.
Charming.
Trying to see how long we could stand it before going out. That was the game. And we're all sitting there chanting, boil the bulls, boil the bulls.
Was there any point in your life that wasn't torturing yourself? Like one day, was there one day?
Yeah, not a single one.
Right. Right, Ali. Every single head, even when Jordan's like on holiday, it's like, yeah, it was mad. I put a swordfish on my dick in Croatia.
Turns out it's very sharp, actually.
I used the end of the swordfish's spear, like that thing that they used to do
through my pee hole.
Yeah, in the 20s to see if you have an STD, just right up there, inside the hole. Yeah, it was nice. It wasn't the best holiday, you know. There was that other one, you know, Pakistan was good where I had diarrhea. Oh, and Turkmenistan where I also had diarrhea. So many diarrhea memories. Diarrhea and penis mutilation memories.
Well, that's
and Ali's is sort of a mix of the two, because he just this is Ali's entire life. If you really needed to just fast forward it into 5 seconds, it's him sitting in his room or getting shot by a gangster.
When did I get shot by a gangster?
Dude, basically every tale you have from Pakistan is like, okay, so pretty much we were hucking rocks at poor people, and then this gangster, we accidentally threw one at someone whose brother was actually well connected in the Pakistani mafia. Yes. And then he comes in and says, hey, you motherfuckers, and he shoots like 3 of my friends. I don't know if they're alive or not anymore. I just ran the fuck out of there.
Dude, that's exactly right.
Most of his stories.
Yeah, it's like takes me back when my 3 friends got shot by the mafia guy. My stories are similar, except that no one has gotten shot as yet. People have come close.
So many shootings. So many shootings. All of Ali's are just, yeah. And then I nearly died this time. And then I nearly died that time. It's like, it's not boring.
We should just rename it The 9 Lives of Ali.
I remembered, I was telling my girlfriend this. I remember this instance where another mini tale of Pakistan, when I had to get my driver's license. I didn't get shot, but so basically you have to do like a lot of things to get a driver's license officially, like an eye test, blah blah blah, whatever. And so I had a hookup who took me there and was supposed to get me a license hassle free, nothing, because he was a well connected guy. Turns out he wasn't a well connected guy, he was just a drunk. So I got a big scolding from the license officer until he said, I can still get it done. You just have to give me money. So I have to give him a $20 bribe.
I remember that one.
Oh, yeah, that was also a fucked up day. But, boys, first segment, I'll start off easy because you guys are tired. So Brisbane is hosting the Olympics in 2032. They seem to be very excited by it. The rest of the country does not seem to give a shit.
Ali, remember we learned how to say that. I'm not standing for this Olympics business. It's it's Olympics or bust. It's on. They're on now. You can't say it wrong.
You're a racist man.
How is that racist? You can't say a word correctly.
It's not your word. It's a Greek word. I'm sure you're pronouncing it wrong too.
What's the Greek word?
I don't know, Olympia or some shit. Jordan, you know Rome. What is it?
Yeah, it would probably be Olympia.
So you've been saying it wrong, Chechnyan warlord.
Dude, he said Olympia. That's like Olympics, not Olympia.
Well, you know, it's a different pronunciation in my part of the world.
How do you say it?
But it's actually called Olympics in Pakistan.
No, that's just the accent. What do you mean?
It's Olympia, Ali. Greek word from Olympiakos.
How about the?
Well, that sounds Greek as it gets, doesn't it? Everything
Ali,
Greeks say, it just sounds like they're saying cement, doesn't it?
Ali.
Yeah.
I'll meet you in the middle. From Olympia or Olympus. So I'll give you Olympus. How's that?
I'm sure that's a camera brand.
No, it says from Olympia.
It is, and it's also a god. Isn't it so sad that the things that people that used to get, I don't know, dingoes sacrificed to them. It would have probably kidnapped one from Australia just to bring it up. The rarest entities on earth, everything, just these massive temples devoted to them. And now they're named after like cameras, shoes. They have like Apollo tiles. Isn't that the saddest of all? It used to be the god of medicine.
Wait, was Apollo the god of medicine?
What?
Wasn't he like the god of thunder or some shit?
Probably. No, god of thunder was Zeus.
Oh yeah, he was the main one.
Maybe Apollo was the sun god too.
Apollo had a few
so he used to control medicine and the sun.
Diverse portfolio.
I guess cheap-ish deals on tiles, but I think that you could probably find better.
Anyway, the important thing is, I forget.
Olympus.
Yeah, thank you, Bislav.
Right,
Olympus.
So,
Olympus.
What I want to know is when Sydney hosted the Grand Games in 2000, every person from Sydney that I have ever met has said that there was a different vibe, a different atmosphere when the games were happening.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true or is that bullshit? Was that truly the greatest time? Even remember Rye from A Simple Plan? No,
Rye from what's it called again?
Thirsty
Merc.
Simple Plan.
He was saying that the greatest time for Sydney was the 2000 Olympics.
He's right.
Olympics, you're killing me. Olympics.
That was definitely building an entire suburb that still no one lives in. That was
people live
honest.
There.
Huh?
People live there. A lot of Asians live there, stacked on top of each other. The mashed apartment blocks.
Do they live there? Or isn't every building there collapsing? I suppose that's just Sydney, isn't it? Asians living in buildings that collapse.
That's Sydney. That's Sydney. But why does everyone say that was the greatest time for the city?
Well, I also remember that I was talking to this about Koreans who had the World Cup, and they were saying the same thing, but it was even more so in Korea. But there's just something electric about having a world event staged at your city, and it goes for 2 weeks straight. I can't really describe it, but I just remember like all through, even, well, definitely now, but Sydney to me has always, and I'm native to Sydney, felt hostile. It was only that 2 weeks where there was kind of some form of community spirit. And even though it was a huge waste of money and produced nothing like the Olympics always does, I think everybody at the end of the day thought, worth it. Thanks for the memories. And you know what else actually really made the Sydney 2000 Olympics special? It was just Roy and HG's commentary on it. It was so Australian. They got 2 comedians that pretend to be sports broadcasters, and Channel 7 said, how about you actually just be sports broadcasters, pretty much. And they were hilarious.
Agreed.
And I think that really adds to the Sydney 2000 Olympics actually was done classily. I shudder to think what an Olympics would be like now in Australia. It would be way more cucky and way more corporate, but that was just tastefully done from start to finish. It was a really classy Olympics, and also birthed us a continual joke, the humor of which has lasted way longer than Roy and HG's entire career, which is saying a lot because they are talented comedians. Nikki Webster.
Yep.
She was
flying high.
You know who Nikki Webster is, Ali?
Yeah, I do. Television personality.
Well, there you go. But the only reason you know that is because she was just raised on a podium as this little like bug-eyed kid singing like, under the southern sky.
Oh, so that's how she got big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world's eyes was on her. And the whole thing that you were thinking the whole time is like, are you in the wrong place? Are you supposed to be shooting a Garnier Fructus commercial? Why are you getting raised on a podium in front of the planet?
I love how she flew.
What?
She flew because wires were new.
Yeah, the wires.
Oh, really?
The wires, bro.
So do you have high hopes for Brisbane 2032? Should we be excited, or is it something just for them to be excited about?
I'm excited.
No, I don't have high hopes for Division 32. I think that the whole thing will just be like, Australia, sorry we exist. We're just so racist. We're really bad people. All right, you take it over. You take it over the rest of the world. Sorry.
What? What are you talking about?
I reckon there'll be like zero pride in the national identity at all. I think it'll just be like this massive long disclaimer about like how we're just such awful racist people. And then like, it'll just be like, okay, let the games begin. Is the torch in? And no, it accidentally just ran by some bushes. Okay, the whole country's on fire. Sorry.
All right, well, oh shit, that was his mic drop moment. I'm out of here. Enough of this shit.
I'll disagree. I think that I'm very, very, very happy for Brisbane. I think Brisbane's the secret of Australia. It's paradise after Bali.
No one's denying that.
And frankly, you know, it's time for them to have their renaissance. They got a Labor government. You know, I like New Farm. Their late night hot dog places are better than our late night hot dog places. It's time for them to shine.
Yeah,
so I think it'll be.
I think you're missing something out as well, Miss Love. There seems to be more night owls there than there is in Sydney.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And I like that.
Possums too.
And
what? Nicer, conjecture.
They're nicer people. They're very they're like not. They're not beeps. You know.
They're hotter?
Yeah, let's chuck that in there. Why not?
How many babes do you see in the Gold Coast and Brisbane And let's just chuck it in there. Sunshine Coast, that's for Ali. There's so many 70-year-old women there.
70-year-old. Hey, you'd be surprised. I've spent a little bit of time in Sunshine Coast, and that's not true. What you do figure out is most people in Sunshine Coast are women, and a lot of them are young moms. And when I mean young, I mean really young, but still moms.
I think, honestly, Kevin Rudd got it right. He figured it out that the Sunshine Coast is called that for a reason. It's the best place on earth. And the fact that you are just saying that there's heaps of MILFs there only sweetens the deal.
It certainly does.
It's got a great microclimate apparently as well, where it's a bit immune to a bit more immune to climate change than everywhere else, because it kind of just circulates in its own. Look, I'm too stupid to understand what Kevin Rudd was trying to understand. Like, that's the whole thing. Like 50% of the time when Kevin Rudd's talking, I'm sitting there being like, yes, I did the itchy and jippy.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
I did the impy.
Like, I'm too stupid to understand what he's saying, but he was saying something smart as usual.
But there's nothing surprising about Kevin Rudd moving to Sunshine Coast. He's an aging man from Brisbane.
Yep.
That's his destiny.
That's where everyone goes.
In Sunshine Coast.
I'll tell you, he showed me his old family home.
Yeah.
And I think it's even better than where he currently lives. And his house is baller and sick. But like the place that he lived in before, that town was incredible. It was like if Byron Bay wasn't filled with cunts.
How the hell have you seen his childhood home as well? How have you seen his childhood home as well? You seem to be more in contact with him than Malcolm Turnbull, dare I say.
So much watch Man in the Mirror recently.
The man in the review mirror.
I don't talk to him that much, but like he's a very accommodating man. He's basically just like, oh, I know who you are. Well, you're basically a family member now. Here you go. Merry Christmas. It's a tractor. It's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this tractor, but you figure that out later. All right, see you. Got a zip. Sorry. I'm just like, he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's a nice guy.
Seems like it. Well, speaking of climate change, have you guys the Great Barrier Reef was enlisted as endangered by UNESCO based on the recent evaluations of different climate organizations, and that was going to become like a political kryptonite or political. It was not going to work well for the government, particularly because Queenslanders don't necessarily care a lot about climate change, but they love the reef. And so, but what ended up happening was that the Liberal government lobbied UNESCO and pulled all strings. Apparently, foreign minister visited different countries trying to like get it off of the list. And so what UNESCO now has done is that they've kept it off the list, but they've given Australia 1 year where they'll come, like their team would come and evaluate or whatever. But every expert is saying that lobbying might have helped you keep it off the endangered list, but it doesn't really change the facts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who cares if it's on the endangered list or not? Everyone knows that it's screwed, right?
But what I wanted to know, Jordan, was, I think you might know a little bit more about this. Why is it screwed? Is it just climate change? What's actually causing the Great Barrier Reef to die?
No, 60% of it is runoff. And that's something that you can, 40% of it is runoff. 60% of it is climate change.
So when you mean runoff, what do you mean? Like the waste from all the mining companies, all the industrial areas flows into the reef? Agriculture.
What happened is, especially under the Newman government, but also, it's one of those things of Labor stopped it, but it's going to take years for it to be regenerated. I think Greening Australia is doing really good work with it at the moment, but pretty much they're just trying to reintroduce mangroves, because mangroves act as a filtration system of sucking up all the nutrients that farms run off into the ocean. Because if they just run off into the ocean, it destroys the water quality. But Who'd have guessed that someone that is obsessed with aquariums knows a lot about water quality in the reef?
Fuck.
But
But
I think it's good because it is remarkable. Like, I'm no Queenslander, but I would do anything to protect that reef. It's just gorgeous.
yeah, even Obama would. It's kind of the world's reef.
Mm.
I
But-
want to eat a clownfish.
But so you're saying that it's all the agricultural runoff as opposed to climate change?
What?
Wait, I missed
Sorry,
your joke.
Ali,
What did you
look.
say?
You're asking important questions, but you just let slip that Miss Love said, I want to eat a clownfish.
I'm sick of them holding me down. Like, I want to see if they're tasty or not. It's bullshit. I'm a Croatian man in need.
Does this, as a Croatian man, surely this tickles your boat a little more.
Mhm.
Would you rather eat just a regular clownfish or a tomato clownfish?
Let's be real. Tomato. Because
I thought as much. It's a
Always
stupid question. I don't
it's
know
a
why.
stupid question. It's a stupid question.
What's next? You're gonna ask if you want salt with it? But Miss, I don't think clownfish would taste good. I think they taste kind of shit.
Probably would. But I just, they can spare one. They can spare one.
Just to
Nemo.
test it out.
One little Nemo.
What are you going to do? You got to fry and batter it. And
Yeah, how are you gonna cook it?
you know what? If somebody does
I should
a
stop
marine
saying this.
tank, and I'm sure there would be, judging from our audience, I'm sure there's quite a few aquarium enthusiasts in it.
Yeah,
If
90%.
you do have a clownfish that dies, don't flush it down the toilet. Mail it to our PO box. We gotta see. We're gonna see if you know what? Actually, they could be poisonous because they.
Really?
Well, I don't know, but they're the only fish that could withstand stings from anemone. So maybe they've just got like engine coolant running through them naturally or something.
Don't mention anemones. I'll make an anemone salad.
Okay. So clownfish, even though clownfish are edible, it is highly advised that people don't eat them because there's slimy substance on their skin.
Well, highly advised doesn't mean
You can't.
I'll take that into account.
Well, if I should have hired you as my lawyer, you figure out all the loopholes.
Their tentacles are also poisonous.
Tentacles.
Oh, no, you're talking about anemones, Ali, not clownfish.
Oh wait, sorry. No. I am talking about clownfish, but that tentacle bit was for
For anemones.
Yeah.
Hey,
But you're
I
still
don't.
not supposed to eat them. It's not advisable to eat them.
I guess I don't want to make an enemy out of an anemone. Nevertheless, I don't want to. I want to stop clowning around and in my belly.
All right. Well, I'm. That's the worst takeaway you could take from the Great Barrier Reef. Like, you wanna-
That's your opinion, Ali. Look,
That's a very.
don't
that's
try
very,
to pass that by as a
that's
fact.
very, very close-minded of you, Ali.
Very close-minded of me. Okay, but Jordan, I still do want to know because I am curious. Is climate change affecting it at all, or is it just the run?
Oh, yeah, no, 60% of reef bleaching or reef death, when we're talking about coral, 60% of that is because of climate change and bleaching. That is not going away. But the thing is that if you had a Labor government in, just saying, this would be the difference. Don't you think that this is the saddest little anecdote I've ever heard, I reckon. But it really explains the difference between the Labor and Liberal governments and their styles, if you can call it that. My lawyer was talking to someone who used to be a professor who was working on really complicated algorithms to figure out when coral spawned and how to track the coral spawn so they could scoop some up and put those coral pieces into the reef as the reef slowly moves down south, like I suppose a really slow motion cane toad because it's getting warmer down in the south. So they're trying to just salvage the reef, right? There's a lot of researchers that were getting paid under the Labor Party to do things like that. Very complicated algorithms. Obviously, when the Liberals came in, they gutted science entirely, but they did start spending a lot on spying on you and surveillance and cybersecurity. And that's where all the eggheads are moving. And a really good example of that is when that guy was fired, some spook tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, you know how you were developing this software that was tracking where coral spawn was going? Maybe you can come work for us and use that same technology to track thoughts online.
Whoa.
What?
What a transferable skill that is.
Transferable skill, but isn't that the best example you could ever give of the difference between a Labor and Liberal government? Instead of your money going towards protecting what you love, which is the Great Barrier Reef, it's going towards spying on you and making sure that you have the thoughts that the government wants you to have.
What the hell?
Spying on you and mind control. That's the difference.
I can't eat the clownfish
Save the
if they're
reef,
not there.
spying on you and mind control. Huh?
Alex Jones is already on
I
the
said
phone.
I can't eat the
Yes, he
clownfish
is.
if they're not there.
Well, they'll always be a fish.
Forget the clownfish.
Such bullshit.
It's not even tasty.
Hey, now who's being naive?
All right. Well, speaking of how Labour Party would have been better, I'm gonna play BBC Heart Talk here. The Labour Party has done a policy change on tax cuts and negative gearing. Well, I'll just basically run through the policy change. So after the last elections, this time around, Labour Party has looked at two things. One of them was the 3-stage tax cuts that the Liberal government had promised, and they're saying that they're going to stick by the stage 3 tax cuts, even though initially they said that people that are earning over $180,000 would not get tax cuts, but now they've come around to it and would not be challenging that. And the other was that they've abandoned negative gearing. So they'll maintain the status quo on both of these things. What do you guys think about this?
I think the negative gearing move's smart. What was the first one? The other one?
So taxing, giving tax cuts to people earning over $180,000 a year. Which in defense, like, it's not their policy. It was a promised policy of the Liberal government, which they're not going to challenge if they come into power.
Dude, we talked about this before. The zeitgeist is moving more and more towards favorable corporatism. Albo is smart and knows how to knock back a beer. He knows that unions are out and to be not as tough on business. So he's moving a little bit to the center. Bus move.
But is it though?
Yes, that's my 2 cents.
Ali, don't you reckon this is the Liberal Party's version of how they couldn't knock Medicare, so they reluctantly just stick by it? And, you know, when Medicare is put into the hands of the Liberals, they'll privatize all the behind the scenes stuff and make it less effective and shit anyway. Don't you think that this is the Labor Party's version of that? That they're like, okay, look, we can't get into power if we get rid of negative gearing and we don't give the wealthy their tax cuts. So we'll just give that to them. It's one of those uncomfortable negotiations that these major parties need to have in order to get into power.
Yeah, I was reading that Labour Party did an assessment on how much they could earn from changing that stage 3 tax thing, or how much they would lose, and they came to the conclusion that the revenue generated from not giving those tax cuts is not worth the political cost. So they can meet that somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is like, look, there are many, many ways to reform the tax system that at the end of the day give us more money in the coffers. That was just one way. I really think that, look, it's a very imperfect system. And if you are versing a extremely powerful, extremely concentrated elite that are saying, these are our minimum requirements, that if you want to get into power, you have to meet them, Why not?
What do you think, Ali?
No, I think electorally it makes a lot of sense. Well,
It's not-
particularly because like the position that is not in favor of these was didn't win with Bill Shorten. So obviously it would be insanity to keep doing something over and over again to expecting a different result. But the point
And you know what else as well? I've talked to Bill about this, and he said, if I could do my time again, those are like some of the things that I just would have been fucking hush hush about before the election. Or like just would have reformed them or whatever. Like he would have sat there and reviewed it back. He said that really started to bleed. It was very easy to turn those into scare campaigns about housing taxes.
and apparently part of the reason why they've done this is because that there's news on the street that the Liberal Party's plan for the election campaign was that the whole COVID and all of that vaccination stuff they've bungled. So they wanted to make a big deal about these tax cuts. They wanted to make the election about these tax cuts, and basically, Labour Party is just not giving them that ammunition.
Yeah, no oxygen at all. That's such a beautiful tactic in this environment, isn't it? And
smart. I think it's smart.
it's so good. Like Albanese has done the exact opposite tactic of Bill Shorten, which is to just shut up, make the entire focus on the government. And then the government all of a sudden is both the government and the opposition. And it has to constantly fight with itself in terms of the messaging. And if just the Labor Party just sits back, watches the current move in, they're going to squeak through, I think. Even in this environment, even with the media bias, it's so close. These elections, it's like what you were saying maybe half a year ago, Ali, that most elections now, you're really fighting over a few percentile. So there's never going to be an election. Well, let's not say never, but it's a lot more. It's a lot less likely that there's going to be those huge blowouts where someone has 100 seats and the other party has 50. It's always just going to be like 77 versus 78.
Yeah, it's always really close, and it always comes down to like those super marginal seats. Unless you've got a character like Trump that basically just completely turns the entire political table around. If you're going to get like normal status quo liberal candidate and normal status quo labor candidate, then the difference is always really, really marginal. Like Malcolm Turnbull, the election that he won was so close, and Scott Morrison's victory over Bill Shorten is touted as this amazing victory. It was amazing because he was supposed to lose, but it's not because he won by a huge margin. So it's always, I don't know why it is. It's always like we now live in a world where like most countries have extremely divided voting bases. Like, even in the US, where it's normal now for the race to get really close, back in the day, if Reagan won, he won most states. Or like the further back you go, whichever candidate won the elections usually won an overwhelming majority of states. So you either sided with Democrats or Republicans. But now it's always razor thin.
That's because nobody. In fact, I've got something to change about how I perceive media bias now, because it's not. Yes, the old model was that you had 5 channels, and so you just needed to get 5 executives maximum on side, and then you'd have just one message to the public, and then you'd get those huge blowouts. But I think now, because of social media, everybody's just in their own little bubbles. And so now the game is to try and pick out where those bubbles are and influence what those people are thinking. And so you're not going to be able to do that as effectively as you could back in the 80s. There's too many channels and avenues of information, too many uncontrollable elements and variations of it. And I think that that's why you're seeing that narrowing. And also you're seeing that the major parties are losing votes.
Yeah.
But I think it's smart too, because like those issues are such non-issues. Who gives a fuck about negative gearing? If you can push.
Dude, a lot of people give a fuck about negative gearing.
Yeah, but what's more important, negative gearing or the fucking Great Barrier Reef?
Exactly.
You
He's
know
got
what's
you there,
fucked?
Ali.
No, but you know what's
and then
fucked?
we can eat the clownfish.
Great
Yes.
Barrier Reef would lose votes, but negative gearing would lose more votes.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So they're being tactically. It's a good move.
Yeah, I think it's a good move unless you're a principled person and believe in policy should always be what you truly believe.
Those
Bullshit.
people are dickheads, aren't they? It's such a stupid argument.
It's
I
thinning
hate
out the
people, those
commies.
imperfect dickheads that sit there. And first off, like if you look at it, it's just like you're never so great, are you? You look at these people that are always saying that like you lost your way because you're blah blah blah, like accusing politicians of that kind of stuff. And then you look at their grasp on policy, and it's like, what do you know? And it's like, vote yes. They don't really have a great these moral warriors never really even understand the policies that they're so outraged by to begin with.
Yeah,
I think that anybody that's even remotely educated understands that, yeah, it's a give and take.
Talking about moral warriors, Greens dubbed this move by Labour Party of
Here we go.
one of the
Cowards.
I think I'm paraphrasing here, but one of the greatest betrayals of Australian history.
Yeah. Oh, for fuck's sake. That's insane.
Yeah, right up there with Robert Menzies selling iron to the Japanese, the Labour Party, dumping a policy that would guarantee that they'd stay in opposition forever.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
that's just perfect Greens. And the whole point of that again is just an electoral strategy. They've just sensed an opportunity to cast up some of the Labor vote, and that's what they're doing there. And it's very, very, to use something that Greens voters always say, disappointing.
It's thinning out the commies from Labor. It's great.
Well,
yeah, I suppose you're right. Fuck them. You don't need them. What you do need is a bunch of people that are sitting around in Sydney's West just being like, why the fuck are there so many duplexes? Well, Rudd seems like a legend. He knows handball.
I think that works. That's okay, isn't it? That works.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, it does. Oh, Ali.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to run by an idea that I have, and I'd like to know everybody's opinion about it. And I just want to see how popular this idea is. But I've been thinking of contacting ARC, Animal Rescue Collective, because I just saw...
the dog thing.
The dog thing.
Yeah.
What? The dog thing? What?
Sorry.
Yes, you describe what the dog thing is in your words. I want to see what you grasp from... When you watched that video, what happened?
It was very sweet. And very sad. Some crazy lady in Brazil herds a bunch of dogs onto a crazy dog farm, basically. Right?
I was hoping for there to be a little more poetry in it, but make it as bare as your room.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was
some Brazilian lady runs a dog farm.
It's very sweet. She rescues dogs. Jordan, you should explain it. It was I'll tell you what I think about it, but you should explain it. It was very heartfelt and sweet, and it was like neglected dogs on death.
It was Costa Rica, and she had this.
No, it was very nice.
Got this land inherited from her dad. And so she just fenced it off and made a dog sanctuary where they just have 1,000 dogs that they picked off the streets of Costa Rica, and dogs that were going to get euthanized. And then they just feed them and let them run around. And like, yeah, they're dirty, but they're obviously really happy because there's 1,000 of them just running around all day. Some of them even get picked up and get new homes. I think it's 10 a week at the moment. And so then they just replace that with more dogs. And I was just thinking, my God, why not here? I reckon that you could kill so many birds with one stone and ironically kill 0 dogs in the process. You would be able to buy a piece of land very cheaply just outside of a major city, I reckon. You get volunteers at Animal Rescue Collective to run it, just like she did. You fence it off, maybe just 100 acres or something like that. You fence it off. You build the world's biggest kennel. And then I was thinking about it, huge food wastage problem in Australia. Dogs are scavengers. Like, yeah, you get marketed all this stuff of like, only Scottish Terriers can eat that only the finest dine or whatever the fuck it's called at Coles. But you do realize that they are pretty much just Mother Nature's garbage bin.
Yeah.
I think that if you actually do hang around a dog for a while, you realize, fuck, they'll eat virtually anything.
But you know what, Jordan? We
Yeah.
don't have as many stray dogs as fucking Costa Rica.
It's not about stray dogs. I don't want the stray dogs. I want the dogs that are about to get the needle. Those are the ones that I want to go to that little.
I don't think that I don't think the numbers are that high.
No, that's like 250,000 a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, massive.
Shit. Okay, I didn't know
Heaps
that.
of dogs that get euthanized, and I think that okay, some of them will be like scary pit bulls that'll just rip any dog apart, and off you go, Lassie, bye.
like Zeus.
Like my dog. And but I think that there would be a lot of dogs that are completely human safe, completely dog safe, and they're just getting killed for nothing, through no fault of their own. Chuck them in a farm where they probably won't have any baths. You just put like a giant dam, which can be a huge dog bowl for them. You chuck garbage at them. They eat the garbage. You can then pick it up and compost the dog poo. It's not the best compost, but it's not the worst. Really, I think the way you think about it is just a huge worm farm.
Yeah,
I would see it as. And then you just have a bunch of volunteers, which I assume are just former lesbian prisoners being like, trying to do good in society. That just
so it doesn't make the land.
Hey, Maggie, you're nice and clean now.
So it doesn't make the land toxic, the dog shit?
No, not if you compost it.
Okay.
And then it turns into nutrient-rich substances. Okay. It's not the best. Like, obviously, worms are better, but worms aren't cute. This is the whole point. I think that if you did that, you would be able to get Animal Rescue Collective's name on the map as creating the first dog sanctuary. It's so famous. It goes mega viral, the one in Costa Rica, and people travel from around the world just to walk in it. So you'd be giving them this permanent
it'd be like that's true
movement for them, which they do extremely valuable work of like making sure that native animals don't starve. So you're just constantly keeping their name in there. You're saving a bunch of dogs that would otherwise die. You're giving ex-cons something to do.
You might have convinced me, bro. You might have.
Most importantly, you please Allah.
Why?
Is that you?
Well, no, it's a good thing. So you get good.
But doesn't Allah hate dogs?
Yeah, I think he does hate dogs.
That's not accurate. Let's just say.
But is it Muslims that hate dogs or Allah that hates them?
One in the same.
A ideological group of Muslims. There's like, how there's they're not sects, but they are there's about 4 different ideological groups that form most of Muslim thought. One of them, who is one of the most dominating ideological groups, hates them. Like the ideological group that is prevalent in Southeast Asia, like Malaysia, Indonesia, don't like dogs. Like, I'm sure there's people that like them, but it's not one of our commandments that, hate dogs. Well,
I really thought it was.
I thought it was.
I thought it was commandment number 1. Dogs.
What is true is, like, for a lot of people in that part of the world, they don't consider dogs as indoor pets. They're usually outdoor or guard dogs or herding dogs. But either way, there's no commandment to like be mean to them or anything.
All right, so it's not an Islamic thing; it's a Muslim thing.
Yeah, it's some Muslim thing, but it's a big group of people. So I'm not discounting it.
I would actually go further now that I think about it. I think being mean to dogs is a third world thing.
Yeah,
that is also true. It's not even like being mean to dogs. Anything that you perceived as having inferior social stature than you want to be mean towards it.
You should watch it. It was very sad.
But George, it is a good idea. I just don't know like what the numbers of those dogs are. in what circumstances a lot of them get put down. If it's just that whatever the pet owner is like, I don't want to take care of this dog, then it makes sense. But if it's like this dog has cancer and is gonna die, then what's the point?
No,
Yeah.
obviously, look, the weak and the aggressive need to get the needle because there's no way you'll be saving 250,000 dogs a year.
Wait, what did you say? The weak and the aggressive?
Yes.
What do you mean weak?
Like the ones that are just like, it's got cancer. It can't.
Oh, okay. I don't think.
Yeah.
Can't poo properly. It's just like, well, you had a good run. You know?
The image. That was just the Simpsons thing of the needle in the like fucking, this is gonna hurt. Like, oh. Yeah, you had a good run. I love how, like, on one hand, you can be so caring and being like, I'll adopt 1 million dogs. Then one's like, you chihuahua.
No, the image is scary.
I told you. It is.
Oh,
Look, people don't have no opinion about your plan. People are talking about dogs and religions.
for Christ's sake, can you guys focus on the main game? You're not Ali. You don't sidetrack here. You go back and you tell me if that's a good idea and if you'd put money to it, because I honestly think that we could raise 1 million for it. There'd be so many dumb Insta chicks who are like, yay, that wouldn't give a fuck about native animals. But I think that it'd have an off benefit as well of assisting native animals in the long run. And I think that it's just a good way of fixing an error in our society.
How about I make a addition to this plan? The plan sounds good, except that when you've got them collected, you export them to Asia.
What? So they just mill around in Bangkok?
No,
that's just what Asia needs. More.
no, not Bangkok, but maybe Vietnam.
Dang.
It's gonna help the economy.
Holy hell. That's the most Mr. Burns idea.
Yeah, it really is.
Just turning it literally into a dog farm.
Vietnamese need dogs. What's the problem?
Oh, dude, people are getting mad at me in the comments. I'm kidding. I don't actually.
Yeah, I don't think that that's Ali's actual opinion.
Dog park. Hey, the Middle and Connection said dog park in Lithgow. I think there's enough dogs in Lithgow.
I think there's enough dogs everywhere. That's the problem. But
That's
you
the
need
problem,
to ship
yeah.
them into a little camp.
Or there's another way of looking at it. There's not enough dogs anywhere.
Why?
Because like they're fun.
Oh, yeah. That's it. I think that would be, that seems like, don't you think that if you set up a dog farm, Disneyland would have to rescind its slogan of the happiest place on earth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old mate.
It doesn't matter how many Avatar $1 billion rides you have. I really don't think it would be anywhere near as joyous as 1,000 dogs coming up and sniffing your nuts.
Having said
like
that,
really, huh?
Having said this, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but here's a controversial opinion. I read this. I'm gonna forward it to you guys just so you don't think I'm making it up. But I read an article on Conversation, I think, where they did it wasn't an Australian one, but they did it was like a research article about desexing dogs. And here's the thing, hear me out. So they use Australia as an example in that article, saying that Australia is one of the only places that has almost made desexing mandatory at a very young age for puppies. I think it's like 6 months or something, even less than that. They can even do it at a few weeks now, or they do it. And this article was saying that is possibly, they don't know 100%, but they're saying that's possibly not a great idea, because with your hormones, you get certain, like, if you get desexed too early as a puppy, then you might constantly be afraid of things. And
who's desexing it at a couple of weeks?
Not a couple of weeks.
People desex them at a year, don't they?
No, they do it at like 6 weeks now. That you can, like, I recently got a dog. They said that by latest it should be 6 months. That's what I was told.
Really? No, that's stupid. You wait until they're a dog. You don't wait until they're a puppy. That's
what the article was also saying.
What a fucking idiot! Like,
but that's not the recommended thing in Australia. A recommended thing in Australia is get them desexed as early as possible.
Well, that just goes against common sense.
Common sense.
So it's not as controversial as I initially thought it was.
No, of course not. It's like, look, I think that you would probably have a better developed body if you were castrated as opposed to a eunuch.
Castrated? What do you mean?
We know that this happens, right? Like if you castrate a boy at 12, didn't they used to do that in Italy so that they'd have a high-pitched voice for the rest of their life if they were going to be in a choir?
I think they did, yeah. And fair enough.
Yeah. Sacrifices need to be made.
All right. Well, yeah, the article was saying that if you do it at a later age, the risk is minimized.
Yeah, I swear that that's what you do, honestly. You just go around to all of those pounds that need to kill all of those dogs because they don't have enough cages. And you say, hey, instead of giving him the needle, give him a needle, cut his nuts off, chuck him in this van, and then you just drive him 2 hours out of Sydney and run, boy, you're free now. That's a great...
It's not a bad idea.
Right,
it's not.
sounds
and you reckon just garbage dogs eating garbage? That should be the slogan.
I low key just want to walk around with the 1,000 dogs, just like.
I think everyone would.
I think everyone would. I think that would like cure cancer.
And also, if they're in big enough numbers in a confined space, regenerate forests.
What?
Why?
Hey, isn't that your thing, Jordan? Remember how you said that you've got to mimic?
No, that's cows, and they wouldn't regenerate the forest. They just make the grass greener. But
yeah, well, still win-win.
Yeah, win-win. But I do just think that that's the way to think about dogs, is that they are just big compost bins themselves that ironically make shit compost, but it's still compost.
Having said that, my brother recently said to me, he was like, hey, man, you know, we've got Rumi now. Why don't we get a female dog too? And maybe we should start selling dogs. And I was like, do you realize how illegal that is? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, you know, there's like a whole thing about backyard breeding not being right. And he's like, oh, I thought I had a good idea.
And wasn't your dog a backyard breed to begin with?
Close, but not exactly. It wasn't
not like a lucrative business,
but it was questionable circumstances.
Yeah, I've never really seen anybody that lives in a mansion and breeds dogs.
No, it's not like
that has poodle hair making poodles in some
Elon Musk, the Virgin guy, Richard Branson, and then pause. It's not that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, this poor fellow, Gelroy, has been asking these questions like periodically every 2 seconds. I think it's only fair that we ask Jordan.
Go on, Gel. What have you got for me, buddy?
He says, what are your thoughts about Gaddafi and Castro and then 2 Gaddafi's female bodyguards? Would you, yes or no?
I'm guessing by that question, yes, but I've never seen them.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes too.
You're going to have to say yes. I mean, obviously, Gaddafi is going to have some smoking bodyguards.
Hey, if he's so stupid, why is he dead? Is my question.
Yeah, you know what, Ali? With all of your knowledge of what's going on around the world, you can't explain that.
Can't explain that. Can't explain that. Sun goes up. Sun goes
down.
Can't explain that. I'm kind of hankering for one of Friendlyjimmy's patented impersonations, either Bill or Rush. Are you feeling any of them? I don't know. Pressure. I'm not going to pressure you, but look, I'm kind of feeling one.
All right, so this is something that the rest of the media won't touch. They won't touch it. They won't talk about the fact that our president, yours and mine, has cognitive decline. Now, that's very different thing to somebody who is disabled in the brain, but he's getting there. And that's tonight's talking points. Followed by, of course, is Madonna's tit still perky? We'll be going into part 87 of that. With our star producer, whatever his name is, the guy that is on the 5 now. And the word of the day is perspicacious. Do not be perspicacious when writing into the factor. BillO'Reilly@.com, BillO'Reilly@.com. Okay, up next is Hannity. Hi, I'm Greta Van Susteren with the word. Like, it's so good because, like, in Australia, you'd always just be like, okay, and now we're going to Hannity. But because it was on a different time loop, it was just the rerun at 2 a.m. And then they just have a different time slot, so it'd never go to Hannity.
Poor Hannity.
Oh my God.
Really, like, I love Tucker Carlson, but I also love O'Reilly. It's
so good.
It really breaks my heart that man doesn't have huge American flags waving behind him anymore with an introduction that had heaps of power slide guitar. Do you remember the last incarnation of the O'Reilly Factor theme?
The last incarnation.
This is going to sound like shit, but I don't care. Like, we are playing the
Play
O'Reilly
it.
Factor theme.
Play it.
So beautiful.
Play it. Pull it up. Hey, Jordan, have you heard of Thomas Playford in South Australia?
No.
Well, that's the end of that chapter.
Here it is. All right, here we go. All right. Dude, the guitar. Who made it? Santana?
I can't hear it.
Hey, before you start playing this, I'm talking to the audience now. In the comments section, I'm posting a link. Can you do this survey? It will help. And only you can only do it if you're a man.
Are you pew polling for the government? What are you doing?
No, it's just my girlfriend, sister. She's like, I really need something for this thing. So, like, if you're a man, then do this survey. Also, I can't fucking post it for some reason. But anyways, Jordan, continue.
Fail that. Go and follow Forest Hall's YouTube page, you schlubs, you ungrateful people.
No. Go look up Bill O'Reilly opening theme spring 2013 for some steel guitar. All
Is
right?
it not fair? Okay, I can't do that. Fuck.
Well, did you write that, Miss Love?
Maybe.
And there's room for improvement.
Hey, I said maybe.
Well, in the hypothetical scenario that you didn't write it, room for improvement. However, if you did write it, well done, Miss Love.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
It's so good. You can't hear it?
Nah. Oh, wait. A little bit.
Well, I probably shouldn't waste 1,000 people's time with audio checks.
It
I do enough of that at my live shows that you can also pay for. However, you can also pay for the Friendlyjimmy's podcast.
Yes, on Patreon, which is a very left-leaning organization, but in fact, I would
Stop it. We don't want to get kicked out of platforms.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Joking. Fuck.
Anyways, you couldn't play that. Okay, well, we're almost running out of time. So one of these segments, choose one. G20 or China? I reckon China is more interesting, but I'll let you make that decision.
Yeah, both nothing controversial, Ali. Nice.
No, nothing controversial.
Yeah, just do G20. We can't talk about it at the moment.
What are you saying?
Christ, now I know how the ABC feels. Jesus.
No, it's got nothing to do.
I say it's boring. It's just this constant thing. Like, oh my God, no, we can't. That's problematic. Oh no, what if the government cuts our funding? Good. Cut it into the fucking ground.
Oh well, it was about China's Hukao system being dismantled.
Anyway, yeah, then go on.
Hot coal.
Hot coal. So, Mr. Hukao system is that when you're born in China, you know, one of the things that they note, and it stays with you since birth, is where you were born. So if you were born in an urban area in the cities, you'll have a urban Hukao, and if you or Haku, however you pronounce it, or if you're
Yeah.
born in like a rural area, then you've got a rural Haku. Now, if it's basically it's been practiced for thousands of years in China,
The
but this
haka.
particular policy was brought in by Mao, and what that basically meant was that if you are from the agricultural or rural area in China, then you need to stay there, and if you are from the urban areas, then you need to stay in the urban areas.
Righto.
One of the things that happened was that it actually kind of benefited their economic model, because if you are from a rural Hakao, then even if you work in the city, in like one of the eastern coastal cities, you can't access social services, you can't access retirement age pensions. So it's basically assumed that they're not really, it's like a temporary residence in Australia.
Mm.
So you can work here, but you don't get a lot of the citizenry benefits. And
Right.
this worked fine because the urban centers were basically just these massive industrial hubs that required labor and cheap labor. So people from agricultural or rural areas would move as workers in urban big cities, and they would provide cheap labor to fuel the industrial China, and China would export all of their stuff that we bought, and that's how they got rich. So it worked fine. But now China is moving away from that cheap export model to like a domestic consumption model. So there are now plans of getting rid of the Hakao system, which is a huge deal for China because most of the social structures are based around this model. It's really entrenched into the Chinese political system. And no Chinese power ever in its history has been able to keep control by dismantling this Hakao system. Because what they argued was that their biggest concern was when people move from one area to the other, either because of famine or because of whatever, low employment rates, they're more susceptible to creating political instability and revolutions.
Huh? Cow? Could they get rid of that?
Well, they're saying that they don't know exactly how they're gonna do it, but they want to slowly get rid of it in phases, which is creating this might be one of the big issues for China aside from an aging population. So keep an eye on this.
I like
Uh,
the idea that they're just keeping peasants on the farms. I'd hate the idea of being kept in a city. That would be just a nightmare.
yeah, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, but it's literally
Imagine
second class
living
citizens.
and dying in a city and never seeing a tree.
Fuck. Dude,
But you do have better like
I had your job a long time ago. I was good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I suppose the ancient world of that version, say in Athens or something, is just the same thing, bow and arrow.
Look, China's up to a lot of they got a lot of plans, these Chinese, don't they?
They do have a lot of plans, but don't you reckon that look, I honestly think that would have benefited everybody in the rural communities because it would have kept investment in there, but also you're not missing out on anything. Don't try your luck in the big smoke. I'll tell you what's way better than being a Chinese pop star singing about good harvest yields. Sowing those harvests. It's a way better life.
No, but social indicators for people in rural areas is much worse, and it's almost by design.
Huh?
Well, look, if you live in the rural areas, you're thinking of like living on a farm, and I guess you live on a farm, but like you don't have adequate.
I'm still thinking about the dog farm, to be honest. But yeah,
Well, look, we'll have to see, but it's not working for them anymore, so they're changing it anyways. But it's almost like having second-class citizens. It's almost exactly like having a bunch of non-citizens working in Australia to serve the Australian economy.
But Ali, you're saying that they have a worse quality of life in the regions than they do in the city.
Yes, apparently. I mean, it depends on how you judge quality, but if you mean in terms of retirement pensions and stuff, then yes.
How the hell can you have a worse quality of life if you live in an overcrowded smoking room at an airport?
Well, one of those crowded places is a hospital, which is high tech.
I suppose that would be like, but I know a lot of hippies, so I hear good things about traditional Chinese medicine. But maybe they're right. Maybe Western medicine might be better. Like I suppose. Okay, look. So you're just saying that if you have access to hospitals, that is better than having. You know what? No, I'd still take it. I would take living out in the farms over having access to a hospital. I reckon that if you just broke your leg out there, you'd just be looking up in the sky, yelling "Help! Help! Help!" And then after a while, you think, "Oh well, you know what? This isn't too bad." And then just
No, you'd tie it up with some bamboo and then there'd be a montage and you'd be fine.
Yeah, they need those. What's that thing in Australia? The Flying Doctors Association or whatever that flies airplanes to rural communities when they get heart attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need that. And then,
right. Did you say they don't have that?
but this is a
So
development.
it's only because of hospitals.
No, not just hospitals, but you're not able to access Social Security. I mean, you are able to access some form of Social Security, but the Social Security benefits in coastal areas are much better than they are in rural areas. And they've just sort of kept this divide on purpose, but now it's not serving them anymore. But it's a very tricky situation. So I know it sounds kind of basic, but this could really, really affect politics in China. So we'll see how that goes. But while we're
So what are the implications though? Are they essentially saying they're reversing that? Is that the case?
they're not reversing it, but they're basically creating more incentives for people in urban areas to move to rural areas. Because at the moment, there's
smart.
only incentives for rural areas to move to urban areas as factory workers. And even if you have to live there on a permit, then you do it because the money's better. So
they're just forcing people from the city to go to the country, not vice versa.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the smartest shit ever. They should do that in Australia. If half the cunts from Newtown were forced to live in Lithgow for a year, it would do a lot of good for a lot of people.
Well, you did that. Did it
That's
do
just
you good?
Yes, absolutely.
That was your cultural revolution.
Correct.
Mini cultural revolution.
No, it's the opposite of a culture. You need a cultural de-evolution. People have too much culture. They need to remember what it's like to dig a ditch and eat fairy bread.
Well
said,
sounds like a plan.
Don't you reckon?
Should we could either end it or I could quickly go through the G20 thing as well.
I'm easy. Whatever you guys want.
We've got to do the Up Late podcast, don't we, Ali?
Yeah, we do have to do the Up Late podcast. All right, I guess we'll talk about G20 obstacles in the Up Late one. Basically,
yeah, that can be. Hey, if you guys,
if you want to hear that, you know where to go. Friendlyjimmy's to paint.
We're gonna be.
I was gonna say, bloody if what you said, you guys want to hear the dirt on G20, such as what is the G20, that kind of vein.
No. This is going to be really interesting stuff in the G20. It includes corporate tax uniformity. It includes digital service taxation. So all the good interesting points that you can have.
We're trying to get people to sign up.
Tax enough in this podcast. We have because it's too much. We're too much corporate tax chat is barely enough. You know where to go. Friendlyjimmy's podcast. Become a member.
Well, thank you guys.
Sign up. We need you. We love you.
We'll see you guys next week and become a patron in these tough times. It will help.
We might even talk about
again, I'm sorry, this is an old joke now. It's because it's beyond a joke, but look at Miss Love's environment and tell me that man doesn't need Patreon dollars.
Help me.
Look, it's a World Vision ad.
Please help. Please.
I think with your contributions, you can educate Miss Love on why he shouldn't eat clownfish.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Jordan, before we sign out, to show the message, to show everyone that you're serious, inform the good people what I had for dinner the other night.
Oh, Ali, have you heard about this?
No.
This is what I like to call a new segment that I've got, which is, wow, that is a new low.
You said it.
The other day for dinner, he had a liter of beer.
No. It was a beer.
A beer. He had a beer and a kilo of sauerkraut. That's it.
That was my
That
dinner.
is too German for the Germans.
Is that
They at least have a sausage with it.
is that eating the rainbow, Miss Love?
Yes.
It's eating the brown side of the rainbow, the beige part.
Everyone's favorite color.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week. Sign up to Friendlyjordies podcast Patreon if you want to support us. And yeah.
We love you all. Hope you're all doing well in COVID, and keep exercising your mind and your body, and we'll all be fine.
Namaste.
Bye again.
Yeah. See you guys.
Baby, I'm saying that